Hey, everybody. It's Big League Bourbon time with our guest, Scott Albin.
What's going
I
on?
gotta throw out Scott right away, man. I got to throw it out to you right away. You're our first guest that's actually made it in here on time and not had technical difficulty in the last 5 weeks. So
There you go.
rock star level right there, man. I absolutely appreciate it. So to give Scott an introduction right off the bat here, I got Scott Albin. He played for 5 years in the minor leagues between affiliated ball and independent ball. Played in the Expos system, if I'm correct.
Yep.
And also with the St. Paul Saints. And after his baseball career was over, he spent time as a scout for the Arizona Diamondbacks and now does private lessons. Has become a fantastic artist over the last year that I've been watching you. I'm into art as well, so that is totally awesome. As well as you follow your daughter around, who is an avid up-and-coming volleyball player.
Yeah, she's all about the beach volleyball right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we've actually, since discovering it, it's a much easier route for girls than indoor to continue on into college. So she's been putting in a ton of work, and she's 5'7". She's a little bit smaller for beach, but she can play.
Okay. Hey, that's all that matters, man. You got to be able to get the job done. She's getting it done.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. So, Scott, what have you been up to since baseball ended?
Well, on top of the beach volleyball stuff, we're teaching her how to drive because she'll be 16 in 19 days. So the nerves are
the countdown clock is on.
Absolutely. And then just our younger daughter does dance, and she made the competitive team this year. So we're kind of in the downswing of all of that, and that gets started August 9th. So we get just a week of vacation in LA, and then we're back hitting the ground running.
Yeah, that'll keep you going, man. I'm in the middle of the travel basketball circuit right now with my 9-year-old going on 10 in a month daughter.
Oh boy. So, I heard that gets that gets a little chaotic, probably even more so than the club volleyball scene.
It does, especially with COVID. Illinois had some weird restrictions, and Iowa was pretty wide open. So we found ourselves driving to Iowa every weekend.
Yeah.
It gets a little long when you're driving 2.5 hours one way every weekend to play 3 or 4 games almost in a row, which is nice. I'll give it that. And then turn around and drive back 2.5 hours. It makes for a long day. Spend, it's more time in the car than you do on the court.
Absolutely, and it's farmland and flat and corn and all that. Yep, I know that area pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. But I'll tell you what, I'll take that right now over teaching her how to drive. I don't look forward to that. Don't look forward to that.
Yeah.
Oh, we got some great comments in the chat already. I want to say hi to the guys that stopped out here already. Bourbon, Tim Evans, thanks for stopping in. Aren't you on vacation, man? Enjoy that vacation. Cole George is in the house, some live wire whiskey. We've got Aiden in the house. He's going to ask you some St. Paul Saint questions, I'm sure. He's up in the Twin Cities himself right now. We've got Mr. Whiskey Shits, Lord Schlong. Kenny Holbeck's in the house. So
Kenny.
So he's going to be giving you a hard time. He was already giving you a hard time leading up to this.
Absolutely.
So
it's a given, man. You know how we are.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. He's got the comment of the night so far. Are we in heaven? No, you're in Iowa.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Lot better Iowa quote than a Children of the Corn quote. That way to get us going here. Yeah, Bourbon. He's asking, does he need to be good tonight? Bourbon, I don't think you need to be good. You just, don't be crazy. We get some crazy questions, as we get going here.
That's totally fine.
So I'm gonna start off a little different tonight. You got into the art world. That's fun to me. And some of your stuff that you've been kicking out is awesome. I mean, watching you evolve that way has been great. from where you started to where you're at now. I see you
Yeah, thank
doing,
you.
the Kansas City work. You did that huge C scene, which
Yeah,
is awesome.
that's in my younger daughter's bedroom.
Okay. So what led you down the path with the art?
Well, I don't know, like as a kid, I kind of just doodled, I guess. I never really got into it. Um, but I was working for Oakley before we moved here to Texas, and
Okay.
I was there for 8 years. Um,
Nice.
and it's a manufacturing plant, and so a lot of the work, and we made the X medals, so the ones that Ichiro wore and
Okay.
stuff like that. We made those
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So
Very
a lot of
nice.
time there's a lot of downtime.
Okay.
Because things had to go from literally from plastic to melted out to poured into titanium. Like it took a week if you track the whole process, right? Um,
Okay.
so just to whatever occupy my time, I just kind of started doing stuff, and it just kind of took off from there. And I was like, hold on, I like it. It kind of it puts you in that it puts me in that zone that I had when I was on the mound. Like you
Yeah,
get
for
locked
sure.
in, and your brain just locks in on that,
Hmm.
and you kind of get that isolation feeling. But it's all been kind of trial and error, and um, self-taught. I mean, I've YouTubed a few things on how to do a couple of things, but that's kind of it. Everything else, I'm kind of just learning as I go, and like, hey, I'm going to try this. Oh, cool, that worked out. Okay, and if not, I got a couple of ways to fix things, and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of how it's
Yeah.
evolved. And pencil's my go-to. That's the one that I'm
Yeah.
most comfortable with.
Dude, you're rocking out the Prisma colors, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. And then paint is something that I'm trying to get into and trying to be patient with and keep testing on and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, and I can agree with you with the lock in moment. I know when I start drawing and stuff, it's like my getaway. It's like
Absolutely.
everything stops, all the noise stops, and you get locked in, you can get lost and time flies by, and before you know it,
You spend five,
it's
six
way
hours
later in
on
the
working on a
day.
leg.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, and people, my wife or people walk up and look and go, "That's all you did so far?"
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, that's
It's
all I did, and it looks really good. But
attention to detail.
yeah, for sure, for sure, that's where it's at.
Yep.
So you didn't do any type of art or anything like that while you were playing? That's just
Never.
something
Nope.
that came along after the career.
Yep.
That's
Yep. No, I was,
crazy.
I
That's
was, I
crazy
was
and
that, I was
awesome.
that guy on the team. Well, I mean, there's a few of us, but we would shoot. I remember. I don't know if you know his name or not. Noah Hall. Mainly in St.
Yeah.
Paul. We played together in St. Paul. We were roommates. We'd stay up till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning after games, just playing Madden. That was
Right on.
my thing, was video games.
Yep.
I still do. I'll play MLB The Show, or Call of Duty or whatever. But no, it was
Nice.
we'd have tournaments and all kinds of stuff.
Dude, that's awesome. So baseball came
Uh
out
huh.
of University of Nevada Reno.
Correct.
You don't get drafted.
Nope.
What is the route to getting signed with the Expos?
Undrafted free agent. I redshirted my first year there. I grew up in
Okay.
Los Angeles, and in a beach town in Los Angeles called Redondo Beach. Um,
Okay.
and John Savage, who's the head coach at UCLA now, he
Hmm.
was my pitching coach at the time. He's the one that recruited me.
Okay.
Saw me throwing in a Legion game, and he's like, heck yeah, whatever he liked. So I redshirted my first year. I mean, I came out of high school only 165 pounds, maybe topping out at 84, 85, but
Okay.
always had good command, had a good curveball. And then by the time I graduated from there, and my last year in 99, I was 195 and hitting 92. So I
Very
bloomed a
nice.
little. I bloomed a little late. I also found creatine and decided to work a little bit harder in the gym, in the weight room.
Hmm.
And in the Stanford regional, there was talk about me going in the 20s or 30s.
Okay.
So on draft day, of course, I was sitting by the phone and my mom calls on the first day. Did you hear anything yet? I'm like, oh my God, no. Like, I will call you when I hear something. And then she called the next day
Yeah.
and called the next, and so on and so forth. And so draft came and went, and I was just sitting there going, okay, well, now what? Because at that point you're like, okay, my entire life is baseball. So what's plan B? And I didn't have a plan B at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So there was the Reno Chuckers, who I don't
Okay.
remember what league they were in. So I went through a bullpen for them, and they're like, yeah, we'll take you like 100%, because, I threw there, they're like, yeah. And Charlie Kerfeld already knew me from Nevada and everything. And
Okay.
so I was
Yeah.
just like, all right,
Old school Houston Astro guy. Nasty
yeah,
Charlie.
absolutely. So I was just like, all right, cool. At least I'll, have somewhere to play and do something. And then I think it was that afternoon or that next day, I got a call from my pitching coach in Nevada, Stan Stolte, who's the head coach at UNLV now. And he goes, hey, the Expos want to sign you undrafted and they need you to go out to Vermont. And I'm like, okay, just, tell me where to sign and what do I got to do? And then so I flew to LA and signed there and left from LA and off I went to Vermont.
Nice. Vermont brings back some great memories. What year were you there?
I was there in 99, and then I got called up at the end of the year to High A Jupiter for their playoff run. And Brent Strom, who's the pitching coach with the Astros now, he was my pitching coordinator that year.
Nice.
And then that following
Vermont
year
brings back some memories here for me.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad place to play.
Yeah.
Obviously it's kind of remote, so there wasn't really a close, team that you just shoot down to, I guess. But
no, not at all. It was a long trip from Erie to get there.
Yeah. But it was because I have family in upstate New York that I didn't really see and I haven't seen in years. So when we went and played Utica, they all showed up. So,
okay.
Yeah. No. So there was like, 10, 15 people, including my grandpa and one of my uncles who flew out and stuff. And it was cool. It was cool seeing them, and I got to pitch in front of them and happened to do well that night. So, it was pretty awesome for that.
No, that's cool. Very cool. So Vermont, I didn't get to spend long there. I kind of got, if you've been on the show, I kind of got run out of there for a situation I was not part of. There was a party down the hall from our hotel when we came out there at the end of the season. It was right before playoffs. Some girl was bouncing from room to room trying to look for different parties than the one she was at. She stopped in her room, said, hey, had a drink with her. She threw it out in the trash can. We told her to go. She proceeded to be knocking on doors and everything else during the night. And evidently somewhere in the middle of the night, she got busted for minor drinking, which, Vermont is very bad, especially if you're aiding a minor and drinking. Right. So our whole team literally got pulled in like at 8 a.m, had no clue what was going on. We had to get on the bus, go somewhere. We went to the field and to the front offices and we're getting pulled in like one at a time into the front room and getting interviewed about it. And when like some of the guys came out and said something about a girl drinking or whatever, me and my roommate were like, well, yeah, we saw her, we came forward with it. Like, she walked into our room, because if you don't know, guys, you're on the road. Most of us flip that little latch over because you got the whole team down the hallway. And, we go from room to room, so it was no thing for somebody to just kind of pop in your room during the night. But me and my roommate, wasn't our thing. We were like, who are you? She looked young as hell for the first part of it. You just know she looked super young. We're like, yeah, no, you should go. So she took off, she just threw away the beer she had, took off. But we went in, did the interview because we're like, well, yeah, she came in our room and their eyes lit up. They got excited. They got excited when we said that. And we're like, all of a sudden it became interrogation style. And we're like, no, we walked across the street to the gas station and we both bought random 6-packs of Vermont beer. That was like some craft beer back then. So early in the craft beer game. And actually both of us luckily still had the receipts in our wallets from what we bought and gave them to them. And that was our redeeming moment, because they went and checked our room at that time and they did find her Labatt's Blue. So I'll never drink that shit in my life again, because, you know, it almost got me busted forever.
Yeah.
So they found that in there, but they found our craft beer in there, and there were some extras still in the fridge because we didn't finish them. They weren't that good. You know, they came back and they're like, well, in Vermont, you know, drinking with a minor or aiding and abetting a minor in drinking is a felony. We're like, she walked in our room, threw out her beer when we told her to leave, and that was it. We didn't give her anything. We didn't do anything. They were still pissed off at us, to the point they told the team that we had to get we needed to be escorted out, get a separate ride from somebody in the front office or whatever, and leave Vermont and not stay for the last 2 games of the series. And we were told never to come back. So I was laughing when I saw you played in Vermont. I'm like,
yeah,
there's a great memory.
Yeah, not really. Not really
Yeah.
great. That sucks.
No. It is what it is. You know, it's one of those things that happens, and I'm glad the outcome is the way it came out. You know, it could have been a lot worse for us with her walking in.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
We ended up hearing from the guys that later, after they got back to the hotel, they found out where everything was, because that huge party had spilled over, and I guess there was something like 50 or 60 high school kids drinking.
Oh, Lord.
Some guy was in town and had thrown just a massive, huge party by getting a block of rooms and opening them so they're all chained together. And it was just filled with nothing but beer, and they'd been partying for 4 or 5 days. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, we weren't the bad guys anymore, but still,
kidding.
No more Vermont for me. So,
I don't think you're missing much.
I don't either. No. Aiden says Vermont has 3 things. What are they? Trees, attics, and bed and breakfasts.
Good point.
They have 4. They have Ben and Jerry's as well.
Well, 5 if you want to add the Vermont, they're the Von Trapp family residents.
Yes. That is very big as well. So that's my Vermont story. And when you were out there, weren't you also the pitcher of the year when you were out there?
Yes, I was. Yep.
Nice.
Yep, I had a good year. It was fun.
That's awesome. So from there, you went on to Jupiter.
Yep.
A little bit of a change from Vermont.
Yeah. You know, luckily I was there for the playoffs, so I didn't get the scorching heat in July and August, but the following year I did. Man, I tell you that the one story that sticks out of my head, or the one day, my grandma would have been, she's 95 now, so she must have been about close to 75, and she came out when we were playing Vero, and we're all Dodger fans, so of course us playing Vero was like huge. So my mom, my stepdad, a couple of friends of theirs, and then my grandma all came out for like about a week or so, and we played a Sunday game at Vero. And Vero's old stadium, their dugouts do not have roofs.
Right.
Because the Dodgers wanted to leave the dugouts open so the fans could openly interact with the players and so on and so forth. So it was just chain link. And we played a day game on a Sunday. And the heat, I think it was like a high of 105, and the heat index was probably 120. I mean, it was brutal. And I had an off day that day because I threw 2 days before. But I remember looking down at our bullpen, and the guys were laying on the berm of the bullpen, and they were laying in the shape of the palm tree shadows, and they were moving with the shadows as the sun moved throughout the day. I was just like, oh my gosh. So one of my roommates and I, who was a starter, we sat next to we put the water, the big Gatorade jug with ice water and ammonia in between us with towels. So we kept dumping ours and putting it on our head because we were off that day. And then when the position players went out onto the field, they threw them to us and we put them back in, and then we get up and start tossing them to them when they're coming off. Right. And because Vero was only like an hour and a half away, after the game, they didn't have any AC in their locker room. So our manager was like, well, do we want to take a shower here and then get on the bus and drive home? Or do you just want to drive home and take a shower in our air conditioned clubhouse? And we're like, yeah, let's get on the bus. And you want to talk about a stinky, sweaty, like, oh my gosh, like, oh man, it was bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
extended spring training. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I looked up at my parents and they were finding any shade they could. And there's no overhang for the stands either. I mean, everybody was just finding some sort of shade just to watch, all 20 people that were there, but whatever.
And it's one of those things where everybody is like, why did the Dodgers leave after all those years in Vero and head out to that new facility in Arizona? There was so much history and stuff. You're finding out right here exactly why they left.
Yeah, Vero wouldn't do anything.
No.
They wouldn't do anything for him, and that's kind of what they get. It's great. From what I understand, one of my buddies just went out there and did the tour. The place looks totally different. There's still all kinds of baseball fields, but I mean, obviously they're not getting used. I don't know if there's a minor league team there or not anymore.
I don't believe there is. I believe they've been using that facility for like high school tournaments and like some summer ball stuff, and kind of making it kind of like they do with Cooperstown.
Yeah.
With bring the teams in, house them, then ship them out. Kind of trying to do that same kind of thing there at Vero now.
It's not a bad idea.
No, definitely not. So you had that year, then you shift on, move on to AA. Where'd you play AA at?
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
5 Mile Island.
Yeah.
So that, so my wife and I got married. Let's see, that was 2001. We got married that October. So 2000. So after my year in Jupiter, we got married in October. And then we left early for spring training because I kind of wanted to get a head start. I knew I had a pretty good shot at, making the AA roster out of camp. And so we left a month early, packed up our Ford Ranger, just her and I, all of our possessions in the back, and drove from Carson City, Nevada, all the way to West Palm, Florida. Got an apartment with a teammate, and then he stayed in Jupiter. So I had to break camp with the team and fly up to Pennsylvania. And this was all before, and I tell my daughters this all the time. We shared one cell phone, and we didn't have GPS. We had to use maps and Mapquest and all that stuff. And they're like, "Wait, what's Mapquest?" We're like, "Yeah, okay." And
I saw somebody print off Mapquest directions the other day and had them with them. And they were at the gas station up here and were asking me if I knew where a road was.
That's hilarious.
I was in shock.
Yeah, I'm like, use your phone, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
so she had a big old note, one of those note phones that are huge.
Oh yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. So she drove up with our roommate's girlfriend. And of course we flew. And I think it was a couple days before we broke camp, my pitching coach comes up to me and he's like, "We just signed a guy by Rule 5 draft, and you're going to be starting on the Phantom Disabled list." And I'm like, "Great, awesome." I signed for $1,000. I'm expendable. I'm, more than a Rule 5 guy that they're going to possibly lose $5,000 in. So you do the math, and so one of the guys gets hurt. I get activated after I think one of the home stands or anything like that, and then we go on a 10-game road trip where we go to Bowie, Maryland, Akron, and then Erie, and then come back home. And I throw one game in each series, and I did well. I didn't give up a run. And then I throw the last day of the month, and I finally give up a home run and a couple of runs here and there. Of course, the home run was on a changeup, which was my worst pitch, to a lefty. Shocker. And then I got released after that game because that guy was coming off the disabled list and stuff. And then turns out the Rule 5 guy that basically replaced me that year, he ended up with a 9 ERA or something like that. And I was just like, so frustrating.
It is. It
So
is, man.
frustrating
It's
because I never had an ERA over 3 if I spent my whole season at that level, at
yeah.
any level. And I was just, except for that year with St. Paul and then the year after. But, as long as, as far as with the Expos, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but, from what I understand, what I heard, I guess the red flag with me was, one, I didn't get drafted. So virtually they had kind of no skin in the game. I was almost like a walk-on to them.
Right.
And then 2, I was a right-handed pitcher that couldn't get lefties out. So
Okay.
obviously that's a big hindrance because there's not right-handed specialists at the time or even
Right.
now. So
Right.
that, and it was, I mean, if you look at my numbers from Jupiter, I think I was like 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. But I mean, not to really make an excuse, but I was learning the sinker at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my walks were to left-handed hitters because I couldn't gauge the movement.
Right.
So a lot of it was just running, like really running away, and I couldn't really, I wasn't starting it where it should be, and so forth. And I mean, I finally reined it in at the end of the year, but a lot of my walks came early because I was trying to figure that pitch out.
Mm-hmm.
And I just picked it up that spring. So,
Yeah.
it's
That's a
just one of
hard
those
pitch
things.
to lock down.
It is, and honestly, it's actually pretty easy to pick up in Florida because you're so sweaty that all you got to do is just wipe off your index finger and then leave your middle one slippery and sweaty, and then it just slips right off, and you're throwing a sinker every single time.
Right.
So it's that foreign substance of a spitball without having to do anything.
Right. Right. Back when we actually used substance to make things slick, not sticky.
Correct. But then I also had my bit of pine tar and my black belt that no one could ever pick up on, and just use that every once in a while. And I never used rosin until that year in Florida, and it was so humid, and I was like, I kind of have to now, and I figured that out, and I was like, okay, well, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the first place I ever used that. I never used that through high school, college. Didn't use it when I was up in the New York Penn League, but when I went back down to Florida, man, that made a difference.
Absolutely.
That made a difference, especially if you get that mixed up with all the other fun stuff, sunscreen.
Oh yeah, and it creates a paste,
some icy hot spray or whatever crap they put on you. You figure out how to make some very interesting concoctions that make the balls very sticky.
Absolutely. Like we also found a way to hide the dip cans in our gloves and everything, and be creative with that when the dip police was around.
Yes. Oh man, I forgot all about that.
Sitting there talking to your buddy down in the bullpen, you kind of just lean over and get a pinch real quick, and then you stuff it back in your glove or in your sock or wherever. I mean, man, you have to put it so deep back here so your lip wasn't sticking out. And
right. Yeah, because you couldn't afford to pay those fines.
Yeah, $50 fine, man. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything now, but back then, good Lord. I mean,
dude, $50 was like 1/5 of your take home every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, that's your meal money for like 2 weeks, dude. What the heck? Yeah, it's funny because I coach at a private school here in Texas. And sometimes I'll talk to them, and they'll be like, "Hey, what was it like?" I'm like, "It sucked." I'm like, I loved playing, playing in the minor leagues. I love playing professionally and having that as my job. But looking back at it, like the life of it actually sucked.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" I go, "You should talk to my wife about it because she lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 dudes when she was with me in Florida." And they're like, "What?" Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah." I said there was 2 twin beds. We had the master, which had a double or a king maybe. And we had another dude on the couch. And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "We made no money. We made no money." And they're like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, "Yeah." I said, we, and they're like, "Well, how much you make?" And I tell them, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "We're poor. Unless you're a bonus baby, you're poor."
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact for sure, man.
Yeah.
And I think back to those days, and God bless the fact that I played in a college town. So, there was quarter beer night anywhere when you went out. I went around to the different bars that were around the park earlier in the day or our off days, and set up different nights at different bars for the team to come in. And as long as we brought at least 5 guys with, so they could say that the players were coming in that night, that we either got free food or like we only had to pay $2 or $3 for anything on the menu, so I made sure to set that up, and that was amazing to go get free food and, quarter beers, because that stretched out what you made so much,
Absolutely.
We also had, when we were in Pennsylvania, they had the restaurant Damon's, and we ran one of the local TV shows would bring the guys in to interview them or whatever once a week for the TV station. So that worked out well. I volunteered to go to that all the time because you got a good meal at a good restaurant, and it was free.
Yeah,
and they gave you free drinks too. I was all
absolutely.
in. I was all in on those.
Yep. Yeah. Kenny, yes, absolutely. Those are the only police that I would want to defund.
Right.
I hear you, Kenny.
Kenny knows what's up with that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I took any of those gigs I could take when I was in the minors. Anytime there was any speaking event or anything else, because you knew you were going to get fed, you knew it was going to be free. Half the time they sent you away with some other freebies and good stuff that you could actually use. So,
and anytime somebody's parents rolled in that you were friends with, you're just like, oh yeah, no PB&J tonight, buddy.
Yeah, the good old days, man. The good old days for sure. So talking about that, what was the worst city you played in during your career?
Visiting?
Either or.
Oneonta. Yes. That was, and I'll tell you. Now, granted, it was close to my grandfather, so I got to see him. That was
stayed at the same place we did.
Oneonta. It was close to my grandpa's house, and he, by the way, he owned a mansion in Ilion, New York. That was a bed and breakfast, and this thing had like 21 rooms, and it was haunted, and it was crazy. So as a 10, 11-year-old, maybe as 12 when I first went there, I mean, I was freaked out the first time hearing that it was haunted and stuff. I'm like, what the heck? And then there's like, basement rooms that were like unfinished and it was dirt under there. I'm like, okay, this is where like murders happen. Like, what the heck's going on? But no, so Oneonta was close to him, so I got to see him. But we went, I want to say it was like around midnight. We got back from the game. We didn't have towels, or we needed towels. So we went to the front desk and we rang the bell, and the owners were sleeping behind the counter, and they just popped up and scared the shit out of us. And we're just like, what the heck? And I don't even know I don't remember the hotel's name, but it was bad. Like I'm surprised we didn't come out of there with staph infections. Like it was not good.
Did you guys stay in the place? Like, we got told we were staying in like a very historic place, whatever. It was like these little A-frame individual things, and literally the beds were against the wall.
Was the TV mounted up high, like on a shelf, and then like chained to the wall? Yeah, same place. Yeah,
absolute shithole.
Yeah, it was brutal. And then on top of it, I think we had a rain out and the clubhouse flooded. Yep. So that was the other thing. I mean, the field was just terrible too. It was like I don't think I threw that week, but I was like, this place is no fun. And then probably
the mountains suck there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, a close second.
Hard as a rock.
Oh yeah, and then a close second to that was Pittsfield.
Yeah, the redeeming one for me there at Pittsfield. I pitched the night before we went there, and when I got there, I got told I was going to go do everything, do the books, do the gun, whatever we decided when we were up in the stands. That just gets delegated by seniority, as you know, who gets to do the fun stuff and who gets to do the shit stuff. So we were sitting up there, and at the time, it ended up being one of the coolest experiences for me. Christopher Reeves, who played Superman, was
Mm-hmm.
from Pittsfield, and this is after he had the horse accident.
Okay.
But one of his favorite things to do was come to the games. So when we were there, it was actually, I was in the stands, and it was the night that he got to come to the game. So he was there in that big, massive chair and stuff, and was, just hanging out at the game, watching baseball. He
That's
talked
awesome.
to us a little bit. We got to talk to him. That was a really cool experience. I mean, it sucks to watch the guy that you grew up with calling the Man of Steel,
Right.
unfortunately be injured like that. But it was a really cool, really humbling experience to get to meet him and talk to him and talk to his family and stuff that night.
Yeah.
That was my redeeming moment from Pittsfield. Otherwise, that place definitely was the pits. It
Well, and what
completely
was,
sucked.
I mean, what was weird too was, the sun setting right over, center field, and you had to stop the game for
Yeah,
20 minutes.
yeah,
And I mean
yeah,
that was weird too. But your story with Pittsfield trumps mine easily, because that's pretty awesome. You know,
yeah.
so the local station in Vermont decided to do a road trip with the Expos,
Okay.
and me being the kind of charismatic setup man, closer, or whatever you want to call it, outgoing person, they decided to mic me up, and I happened to be have an off night. So I was mic'd up during the game, and I had a jacket on and everything, and it was in the middle of summer. It was, everybody's like, "Why are you wearing a jacket?" I'm like, "Man, I don't know. I'm just trying to keep my arm warm. It's not feeling right, whatever." So they're like, "All right, whatever." They went on about their business. Well, I instigated one of the biggest verbal fights about cartoons that I have ever witnessed in my life. And I mean, guys were like MFing each other and over cartoons that we grew up liking, dude. It was like, what the heck? So they followed us in the hotel and all the pregame stuff and everything like that. And I mean, we got a lot of quality like sound bites and everything. And we
Oh
watched it on a
man.
road trip, and everybody's like, "Who is Mike?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I mean, we were laughing. We were laughing so hard because obviously the position players and the coaches had no idea what we were doing down in the bullpen. And so
Right.
one of the guys goes, "Is this your conversations that you have every day?" We're like, "Yeah, pretty much." We're
Yeah.
like, "Dude, we're so bored down there. Like, you don't even understand. We come up with the stupidest things, or we create the dumbest games, or whatever." And yeah, and they're
Yeah.
like, you guys really almost got in a fist fight over cartoons." We're like, "Yeah,
Oh yeah. Out in the bullpen, all that stuff. Yeah. Stupid games, picking out people out in the stands, just random.
absolutely." Yeah.
Yeah. You have to stay entertained because out in the bullpen, like you, I did setup and closing games. I honestly didn't pay attention to much of the game until about the eighth inning. If I had already seen one game with the team and had a
Yeah.
decent scouting report, I
Yeah.
mean,
I knew what I could do with them and not and everything. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Cleats didn't go on until the seventh inning was over.
Yep.
So
Well, shoot, I
yeah,
mean, half the time when on most of my off days, and that was the other thing, is all the guys knew I was having an off day, and they're like, "Why are you down in the bullpen?" Because usually in the off days, on my off days, I would go sit in the dugout because I was picking the brains of the hitting coach. I was picking the brains of
yeah.
all the coaches. I was listening to everything that they're saying. That's just how I was, how I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, my dad was he's a high school varsity coach since the day I was born, and then my uncle coached at UCLA and UC Irvine. So I've always been, a student of the game and just tried to
Yeah.
soak everything in. So I was down there, and they're like, what are you doing down here?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm just hanging out. It's boring down there, whatever."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, we had an awesome pitching coach my second year. It was Blaine Beatty, who still owns a lot of the minor league pitching records, like all time pitching records. I don't know how that guy never got more of a cup of coffee than he did, considering going back and looking at his records and like his knowledge base and everything else,
yeah,
like you're talking about. I
it's
mean, I spent all my time on the buses sitting up front that year instead of being in the back playing cards. That year,
Yeah.
I sat in the front of the bus with him, picking his brain 24/7, trying to learn anything I could. Like that guy was such a wealth of knowledge. It was amazing. The year before,
Yeah.
my pitching coach was a fun guy, but that was about what I got out of Chris Lane. He was fun. He made jokes all the time. He had a bad outing. He just laughed about it and joked about it, trying to ease the tension
Right.
for you.
Right.
No real pointers or anything. It was just kind of along for the ride,
Yep.
So one of my guests, B Sims, asks, what advice do you give an aspiring ball player today?
Man, that can go so many different directions.
If you're looking back and giving yourself advice today when you were in high school, what kind of advice would you give yourself to prepare yourself for the opportunity to continue on playing in college and in hopes of pro ball?
In today's environment, man, and it's funny because obviously I'm coaching high school kids. So what advice do I have to give them? Actually,
Yeah.
I guess the advice kind of changes depending on what position they play. Honestly, I'm not going to tell a pitcher to go out and get yoked, but I mean the weight room and just overall conditioning. That's huge. Taking care of your body, eating right, those sort of things. I mean, obviously, if you stay healthy and give yourself the best chance physically, that's going to help. On the field, I mean, the best advice and a couple of things that I tell our guys, is pitch by pitch. Live in the moment. You can't change anything that's already happened. You can't predict anything that's going to happen. You gotta win this pitch right now. And one of the terminologies we use, and I use it with my daughter too when she plays, is win. WIN. What's important now? So
Nice.
it's you gotta win this. You gotta win what's right in front of you.
Yeah, for sure.
And don't take it for granted. And there's one of the parents of one of the travel teams that I coach with. His middle son playing for the Dodge City A's in the college league, and he made a post about how much he was enjoying himself and stuff like that. And I said, dude, soak it all in. The good games, the bad games, the rough road trips, the staying in the hotels, because it's going to go away, and it goes away faster than it comes. And just enjoy it. Just have fun. Go out, and all you can control is the effort you put in and your mentality going into your game, into your plate approach and stuff like that, and just do it to the best of your ability.
Nice. Yeah. I go along with that completely. There's so many stories that happen over the years. And I think all of us who have played the game at the level that we played at, we kind of keep those stories close to heart. We don't share them. We don't really talk about them. And, now they start coming out. I share a little bit with my players. I love sharing on this channel here as a way to reminisce. It's fun for me now,
Absolutely.
But when I was like 27, 28, I didn't talk about it. That was a different part of my life. And it's one of that part that kind of hung over me. It was that goal I didn't complete, but at no time did I ever want to change the experience at all, because the experience I had was absolutely amazing. It helped create who I am today, who I was at 27, 28. And I appreciate that, but it's still that competitiveness, that bit of a chip on your shoulder. You don't want to talk about it. I didn't have the urge to coach at that time. I got offers left and right. I passed them up, which cracks me up because, later down the road, like you, I coached high school. I did it for 5 years. It was one of the most rewarding times ever. I coached
Mm-hmm.
travel ball before travel ball got absolutely insane and crazy and jumped the shark to what it is today. That blows my
Yep.
mind. I coached at a junior college. I worked with a bunch of minor league players, working with them, at facilities, helping them in the off seasons, and I found my love for the game again. And it's crazy how it goes away for that little bit. But you're right, man. Soak it all in, enjoy it. Because I know when I get to talk to you guys on here, and I get to tell little stories, man, it just brightens my day. And like Thursdays are what I live for when it comes to talking baseball.
I hear
You
you.
know?
I hear you. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
funny, you talking about, when you retire or you get released and it's done and whatever, you kind of get lost. And I've tried to explain this to people, and it's not necessarily you're lost in a direction. You're more lost of like, who am I? And who do people see me as? Because all they've known is, me as a baseball player. All I've known is, okay, I got to get up and go to the yard, or I got to go work out, or I got to go throw a pen or whatever. So it's kind of like, okay, what now? You put all your eggs in the basket going like, dude, I'm going after this golden egg.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, it just cracked in my hand. And it's
Yeah,
just
for
running
sure.
everywhere. And you're like, okay, what do I do now? And like the most of us, I mean, baseball's been in my life since I was born. And during that period, like, it was really hard for me to watch it because I was still at the age of playing. So I'm sitting there, we go to Sacramento, living up in Carson. We go to Sacramento, we go watch we go to the zoo, we take the girls to the zoo and stuff like that. And then we go watch the River Cats. And I'm just like, I played against that guy.
Yeah.
I struck him out, or I got him. He never got a hit off me, whatever it might be. Or this guy went 3 for 3 off me. And you're sitting there going, he's still in the game. And here I am. And then a couple of times you might see a buddy, I mean, that was mainly the only times I went to games at that point, was to go see, a couple of guys that I played with, like the only time I went to a big league game at that point was when Lyle Overbay was playing. Okay. And because I went to college with him. So, I go see stuff, go watch him, or, a couple of guys that were still in AAA that I played with in the Expos, I'd go see them. But other than that, like, I didn't really want to be around it, and it broke my heart. It broke my spirit. And so you're kind of like, it's like a divorce, and you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm just going to take some time to myself and figure it out and whatever. And then it's like, okay, after that downtime and that cleansing, I guess, if you want to call it that, then you kind of switch your gears to coaching. Mm-hmm. And then you take a different approach to it. And then that becomes a little bit more that rewarding factor, like you were saying, where it's like, okay, I'm giving it back now. And I'm watching this kid.
It's almost like an instant high once you get going with it, and you want more and more and more of it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you take certain kids under your wing, and you teach them a few things, and you correct a couple things. All of a sudden they're like doing really well. And maybe they go play somewhere else besides high school, or they're just really better than they were, even if their extent is high school, and they're super thankful for everything that you did for them for that time. And yeah, like you said, I guess that's kind of what, if you've been coached good, then that's kind of your path, I guess. But yeah, like you're talking about the high. So this year we're at a private school in Texas, so we don't get, like, we're not a 6A public school where we got like 80 guys coming out, right? We had 11 guys on our varsity team this year, 2 seniors. We were going in to play a school called John Paul II, and they're first place. They haven't lost a game in district yet. And first game, we go extra innings with them, and we lose on a walk-off wild pitch with 2 outs. So it's kind of like, oh, you got to be kidding me, right? So then we have them at home, and we're down 11-2 in the bottom of the 7th. And they bring in a reliever. All of a sudden, we get a double, a walk, another double, another walk. Before you know it, we got the bases loaded with 2 outs and the winning run at the plate in one of our seniors. And he hits a bomb on the second pitch. So we scored 9 runs in the 9th inning to beat the number 1 team in the district and give them their first loss.
Awesome.
It was crazy with 2 outs, and the kid's actually going to Dartmouth to play football. Okay. I mean, he was one of the fastest baseball players I have seen in a long time, and I played against guys like Juan Pierre, and he was like the kid could get down the line. And but yeah, it was his, I think, his only home run all year, and it happened to be that one. And we had 2 walk-off wins this year, and it's just one of those highs where you just, like you're saying, it's really hard to come down from, you know?
Yeah. And I guarantee with your background, when that happened, you were going crazier than the kids were going at that moment.
I tried to keep it calm.
You got to see them accomplish it.
Yeah, well, I was coaching first, so I didn't really see the hit because I heard it, and I looked up, and it went to left center because I was watching for the back pick. You know, it's 2 outs.
Right.
The situation, I'm sitting there going, okay, they may put on a back pick. So my back's to the plate, and I'm watching the first baseman. And I hear the crack of the bat, and I'm like, okay, that sounded pretty good. And I look up, and I see the left fielder running towards the fence. And it went out, and I just put my arms up. And I got like, both arms are just covered in like elbow guards and shin guards. And I mean, it was one of those innings where guys were just, I had to run the gear back, and like it was, and I walked back, and I was trying to contain, you know, act like an adult and contain my emotions and stuff like that. And then the other coaches started coming out to me, and that's when we just became little kids, and we were just like, you know, but yeah, it was awesome. It was, you know, we're so happy for them. And because the past couple of years, they haven't done very good, and they finished last in conference. And this is our first year with them. And, you know, it was just, it was great. It was great to see it.
That's awesome. So shifting back to pro ball, who's the best player that you played with, whether it was college, high school, or pro ball?
Well, in high school, my teammate for 4 years was Morgan Ensberg.
Oh, very nice. I played against him.
So that's one of them. So in college, we had quite a few guys end up making it to the big leagues. My best man in my wedding and my roommate was Ryan Church.
Okay.
Then Lyle Overbay, of course, Corky Miller, Chad Qualls.
Nice.
They were all at University of Nevada. As far as the Expos, probably trying to think. I would say probably Matt Sapicki. Valentino Pascucci was another one. And I played with Valentino for a couple years in Rochester in the Northwoods League. So he and I knew each other for quite a long time. And then I played against Sapicki in the Northwoods League as well. So we knew each other. And he and I ended up being roommates in AA. And I just actually, because he doesn't have Facebook, so I texted his wife, because his wife and my wife were friends while we were playing. And they got a daughter the same age as mine who plays beach volleyball too. So I'm like,
oh, that's so crazy.
Dude, let's team them up and let's get them to Florida. And she's like 5'10", like 5'11", and my daughter's 5'7". I'm like, perfect. She can play the net. Mine will play defense. All good.
Yeah.
And they live in St. Louis, so it's going to have to be a meet somewhere in the middle. But
yeah, dude, that works.
Yeah, so I would say that. Obviously, I mean, I didn't play with those guys, but, you know, just being around Fernando Tatis and Vlad Senior, Vlad Guerrero in spring training and stuff, those guys were just unbelievable. I mean, it was watching those guys just, I remember I got there early one morning in spring training, and I could just hear the crack of a bat, and it just sounded different in the cage. And we're walking up, and I'm just hearing it. I stop and watch, they're in their shower shoes, sliding shorts, and torn up t-shirts. That's all they're wearing in the cage, Tatis and Guerrero, and they're not throwing anything in the strike zone, and they're barreling everything up. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, you got to be shitting me. And then they took a couple rounds of BP, I think another day on the backfields and stuff. And they were just dropping bombs left and right. It was just like, it was amazing.
Yeah. That sound is so different when you have guys that understand how to use their wrists properly. You got a bunch of guys who can swing and have the proper rotation, but those guys that can finish with that wrist snap and that pronation, you get such a different sound, and the way the ball comes off the bat. Oh my God.
Yeah.
As a pitcher, we don't like those sounds.
No, not at all.
Unless they're coming from our bench.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We like that odd sound where it's like, oh, that one's broken.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So who was someone that you played against that you loved to pitch against all the time? Because you knew you were eating him up.
Oh, what was his name? Dang it. It was when I was in St. Paul. I remember him. He's a big dude. Was it Kirkpatrick? I don't remember. Anyway, I think he was at Sioux Falls one year and then Lincoln the next. And I remember I ended up starting my last year in St. Paul. And I remember starting at Lincoln at Haymarket Park. And he came up. He must have been hitting like fourth or fifth. Right-handed hitter, big dude. I mean, he was like a Rob Deere type of hitter. Just it was either bomber K, right? Yeah. So first at bat, I throw him a slider over the middle. I throw him a slider on the outside corner and a slider extended off the outside corner, and he swings through all three. He goes back the whole time and throws his bat down, throws his helmet, and of course I'm staring him down and laughing my ass off because he was like 0 for 10, 0 for 15, and basically all strikeouts. Like that was the one guy that I owned like my entire career. That's awesome. So, he's throwing his helmet down. He's like, challenge me and just call me all these names and everything like that. And I'm just laughing on the mound. I'm like, all right, I got you. It's just, as a pitcher, like I can just lollipop one up there and you're going to take it. So next time he steps up, I throw him a first pitch fastball right down the middle. And I took some off. I mean, it was like 90, 89. It was a little bit of a BP fastball just right down the middle. And my catcher, who was my roommate and my best friend on that team, he was just smiling behind his mask the whole time. And we knew it. We talked about it before I went back out there and everything. And he took that pitch and he just put his head down and put his bat down on the ground like he was dragging his tail between his legs. Got back in the box, and I threw him 2 sliders right down the middle, and he took both of them, and he just turned around and walked away. And I was just like, yeah, dude, don't don't tell me. I'll challenge you. I will, because I'm not afraid to give him up either. And I think we had a lead at that time. So I'm like, yeah, I'll challenge you. Let's go. And he obviously wasn't expecting that. But another guy who was really fun to face was Matt Noakes.
Okay.
I faced him. He is playing for Schaumburg in 2001 when I was in St. Paul. And that's about the time I learned how to throw a back foot slider. And him hitting left-handed, I threw him one of my best back foot sliders, and he swung right over the top of it. He tipped his helmet to me. And then later on, when we were getting on the bus and stuff, he came up to me. He's like, how are you in this league? And I'm like, that's a good question. I don't know. I said, I wasn't drafted. So, I'm assuming that's it. And as soon as you get a red flag over your name or, blackball or whatever, you're pretty much done. Yeah. And he's like, I'll try to make some calls and do what I can, but you shouldn't be here. And I'm like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And obviously nothing happened, but at least I got that. got that acknowledgement from a dude I, grew up watching. I mean, I loved watching that guy hit, dude. That guy was awesome. And I was like, holy shit, I'm facing Matt Noakes. I was like, no way.
That dude had some forearms on him.
Yeah. He's so nice. So he's such a nice guy. And that was just, that was a cool moment. But yeah, it was fun facing him for sure.
Nice. Now, on the flip side of it, who was somebody you didn't want to face?
Travis Hafner. I faced him one time when we played Port Charlotte, and I think he hit a ball off the right center wall that maybe got like 20 feet at its peak. He just absolutely smoked it. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, and I think it was the next year he was up in the big leagues just mashing. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's standard. But and I don't know if you saw my comment to Brian Schultz in our group or not, but Ryan Ludwig was at UNLV and it was my senior year at Nevada, and we were playing in a tournament, and I came in with the bases loaded, and he's the first guy I'm facing. And before we played UNLV, our head coach was like, we can't give Ludwig the first pitch fastball. He's a dead red hitter. Mm-hmm. So my coach called the first pitch fastball inside, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I threw that thing 2 inches off the plate. And I don't know if you've seen UNLV's field or anything like that, but over the left field wall, you can see the stratosphere. I think he hit it to the stratosphere, to the hotel, like the casino. Like it went over the lights. Like I was just like, yeah. So that's why we don't throw him a first pitch fastball, and so I come off, I get out of it, I get out of the rest of the inning. We're losing at that point, and I come in the dugout and he's just blowing me up, and my catcher's right there next to me, and I'm like, if I throw it any more inside, I hit him. I don't know where you want. Where do you? I stuck it right there at his belt. It was belt high on his hands, and he absolutely smoked it. What do you want me to do about it?
Yeah.
And he looks at my catcher. He goes, Coach, it was perfect. And I go, you said not to throw him a first pitch fastball. Why did you call that when you know my strength is my curveball, my slider?
Mm-hmm.
And he just got pissed and stuff like that. And then on the plane ride home that night, where he's already sitting down, and he grabs me and he goes, "You're sitting next to me on the flight home." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" And so he goes, first thing he says, "I've been waiting for 4 years for you to show that fire in you. Just you can't do that in front of the guys." And I look at him and I go, "What am I supposed to do with that?" I mean, it's in the heat of the moment. Am I supposed to wait till tomorrow and be like, "Hey, coach, can I come into your office? By the way, that's a horrible pitch call you called." Like, no. I'm like, he goes, "No, but that's what I want to see from you. That's the fire I need to see in you." And he goes, "And from this point on, I'm not calling your pitches anymore." And I was like, "Cool, all right." And that's when I had a really good senior year. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that Ryan Ludwig, man. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I had one of those moments with my college coach as well. Yeah, fiery, fun moment, man. I let it fly for sure. But when you talk about that home run like that, I gave up one the whole time I was in minor league ball, and I gave up mine to Robert Stratton, who was
with the Mets, dude. Yeah, that dude, great. Oh my gosh, dude, he hit. Oh, that dude hit bombs. Oh my gosh. Yes, I forgot about that guy. And he came up to the Dr. Dre song in, what was it, 2000? In 2000, Florida State League, the Bang Bang. Yeah, Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You don't often see a dude who's 6'4", 265 pounds, that got recruited by every top 25 team in college football.
Yep.
End up taking the baseball contract. And he was, when I faced him, he was 18, 19. And at that time, we're talking the late 90s, sleeved both arms all the way up. That dude was monstrous. I mean, he looked so much bigger than everybody, way more mature. The first night I faced him when he was in town, me and him had a 14 pitch at bat at the end of the game, and I got him. I ended up getting him at I got him a 96 inside. The next night, I came up against him again, and we went through like an 8-pitch battle. And on that 8th pitch, dude, he got it. He got that ball. And you remember Erie, how the stadium was behind left field. I shit you not. He hit that ball. I knew it was going as soon as he hit it. I kept on walking towards home plate and put my glove up to get a ball from the umpire. I had a ball in my glove before we heard that ball hit somewhere on the back half of that building. You just heard the big thud on top of the building, but I had already had a new ball from the umpire before that. That is the one home run I gave up in my career. I'm kind of proud of that one.
Absolutely. Like, if you're gonna, if
I tell everybody, without me throwing that hard, that ball, maybe hits the building. It doesn't go like 3/4 over the building. Which, if you know that place, it was like 15 feet up to the wall. Then there was like a 15-foot patio before it got up to the stadium. And it's where the Erie Otters play, which is one of the biggest developmental teams right under the NHL possible, like Sidney Crosby. And the names that have played there is unreal. But that place was huge. And that dude almost launched it over that behind the stadium on me. So I'll never forget that.
That dude, man.
Massive.
And I tell my guys all the time, I said, if you're going to give them up, don't get cheated. Give them up big. Because the ones that hurt are the ones that just barely get over the wall. And you're like, dude, you got so lucky. Like, there's the lucky home runs, and there's the one where you're like, yeah, okay, you got me.
Yeah, that was that one, man. Woo! I remember we went out after that, and everybody was having fun talking about that, and I was sitting back laughing. And that, if it would have been anything less than that monster ass home run, I probably would not have been out with anyone. I probably would have been the most angry person on earth for 3 or 4 days. I mean, we had huge battles back and forth between the two of us 2 nights in a row. And then when we went up and played them again, we had another long battle. I won that. I beat him 3 times. Dude got me once. And when he did, kudos to him. It was massive, But I remember seeing later in his career, that guy went on and hit like 48 home runs for Albuquerque and AAA,
Yeah, he matched in St. Lucie, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, and I want to say he had probably 20 to 25 bombs in the Florida State League, and that's a lot. Like, that's a lot there.
It is.
I mean, that all those stadiums are graveyards. Yeah. I mean, I remember guys used to just absolutely tattoo balls at Jupiter, and it wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what the heck?
That's
all right,
cool.
Sure. I can just serve them up, and you guys can hit flyouts to left all day long. Sounds good to me.
Oh yeah, you got it. I like that about Florida, man. You could just go have fun there.
Yep.
You could play around and tinker with stuff, and guys would hit a ball that would get out of most other places, and the next thing you know, it's just floating for a routine fly. Mid right field. That
absolutely that rain coming up.
Spring training there.
Yeah, that rain coming up from the ground kills the balls.
Yeah.
Humidity after a rainstorm. It's brutal.
Oh, you guys in the comments, you guys are finally loosening up low. You got a couple drinks in you. These are great. Oh man. So give us a crazy story. Something off the wall. We all have them. We have them, whether they're in college, whether they're on the road, whether it's in the minors. What are some of the craziest things you saw, or a situation just like, dude, is that really happening right now?
Well, in pro ball, I was pretty I was quite tame. I didn't drink at all when I played. Didn't really party. I went out, but I was more like the DD and kind of left early, whatever. Um, being a undrafted free agent, I couldn't afford to play hungover or get popped with a DUI or something. So, outside, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I know we had a lot of fun and did a lot of shenanigans while in Rochester in the Northwoods League.
Nice.
We had bonfire parties and that sort of stuff, and it was we just had fun. We didn't do anything stupid or go destroy property or anything like that. We just we go to host families' houses and just have parties and hang out and there was both years that I was in Rochester, we probably had, I don't know, at least out of the 25, 26 guys on the roster, I would say a good 12 of us hung out together almost all the time. We just go around and party. Just my last year there, of course, I was 22, so I had free reign. Shoot, I was going and partying with the coaches on road trips after my starts.
Right.
We just be, all right, what bar are we going to? All right, cool. And it'd just be us and them and, whatever. Cause, I got into a rhythm where I wouldn't drink 2 days up until I started. And I was starting in the Northwoods League. Had a great summer that summer in '98. I set the record for strikeouts in a game, did that twice. That's awesome. with 13. And then I set at that time, the record for strikeouts in the season, and it's been broken, I think, twice now. But yeah, I think that's what kind of put me on that summer put me on the map with scouts. I had a sub-2 ERA as a starter, went like 11 or 12-2 or something like that. But yeah, so I wouldn't drink the 2 days before a start, and then the next 3 days I'd drink after, and me and my buddy would go run, we'd go lift, we'd drink that night and party that night, and it was like a routine, and it just worked. It worked.
You found that magic even.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, it was, there wasn't really a whole lot of crazy shenanigans, I guess. Just having a bunch of friends, bunch of fun with your buddies. We on road trips, I guess that year we took vans. We didn't have buses. So the coaches would drive or us players would drive, and we're driving at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning coming back from somewhere. Nobody's on the road, so each van, we would have contests on what pranks we would pull as we're passing the other one. Right. So I guess this is where the crazy is. So one of the best ones, and I don't know how we pulled it off, but I wasn't driving at the time, but they passed us. They did something. They might have been doing the rowing the boat all together and stuff like that. Well, we drove past them the next time, and we were all sitting backwards, including the driver. And I don't know how we stayed on the road, but it was pretty funny. And then I think another time we stopped to get gas or get some food or something, and they bought pantyhose, and they all put the pantyhose over their face, so they're all like robbers. And then of course we turn on the interior lights so we can see what's going on. So it was just all stupid stuff like that.
That's awesome. So are you going to teach your daughter that drive backwards trick?
Not at all. No. In fact, we're still working on not driving over the parking curb, which happened tonight.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was poor thing. She cried. We yelled at her, and
Yeah, those things happen.
Yeah, and it was a new car as well. So we're just like, are you kidding me? Like, what the heck? So
nice.
Whatever.
So we got a question in the group coming from the group. They're starting to chime in here.
Sure.
We got Jeff Kruper coming in. He's been a Clearwater Threshers season ticket holder since 1998. Any big fun memories against the Phillies there when you were in the Florida State League?
Man, we only had one series against them there. I don't remember much except for the brick wall out in the outfield. And I was just thinking to myself, God, I would hate to be an outfielder trying to go back on a ball to the wall. Just knowing that that's there, and if I go full speed, I'm going to basically implode. Yeah, it's funny. There's like the Fort Myers. I guess my best memory on the west coast of Florida was Tampa, just because you got to play in the mini Yankee Stadium. But no, I don't remember much of the Phillies. Fort Myers had a nice stadium. I like playing there. But that was about it. Kissimmee was meh. It was all right. It wasn't great. But yeah, it's funny. I think Clearwater is probably the one that I don't really have much memory on. I mean, I remember Port Charlotte, and that's where Hafner hit one off the wall. And the rumor on Port Charlotte, I don't know if you knew it, but you could talk into the wall and it'd reverberate all the way around, and you could talk to the other person on the other foul line.
I did hear that when I was there. I did hear that. I don't remember if we did it, but I remember guys talking about that.
Right. So, and I don't know if it was true. I was like, whatever. Yeah. I was like, whatever, you're full shit. But
right.
It's kind of like Tulsa. Tulsa has a place in their downtown called like the middle of the universe or something like that, or middle of the world or center of the universe. And supposedly if you stand in this area, you can speak or scream and nobody will hear you. And I'm like, no, like that's, and so of course, my daughter was playing volleyball. We went up there and the girls were like, yeah, let's go. And so we went there and they all stood in a circle and they started screaming and you could hear them from blocks away. I'm like, this is so phony. Like, you guys bought into a hype of like, that's not even real. But so that's kind of I don't think it worked. I think guys were kind of trying it, and I'm just like, whatever.
Guy, I don't know. Jeff came back and said that stadium would have been the old Jack Russell Stadium at that time.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So they're in a new place now. So no more implosion on the wall.
Yeah,
probably a good thing. So, what's your best memory overall from baseball?
Just getting to do what I love doing every single day. Just knowing that when I wake up, I'm going to the field. And then the secondary part was also that you're with your best friends for that year. Some of them longer, that you've known for quite a long time, you're still in touch with. Just the competition, just playing the game, and there was no better place, at that point in time. Obviously now coaching it and, watching my oldest, play volleyball and stuff like that. Like I get those feelings again. But I see it in her. There's no other place she'd rather be than on the stand playing volleyball, or on stage. Awesome. On stage in her theater production. That's the other thing, is she's also an actress and stuff. So she's been doing that. And then with my younger one, she dances. So watching her on stage and working backstage with her, because I do the props and everything. So it's just people talk about the grind, and it was hard, but to me, I didn't feel like it was a grind. It was what I wanted to do my entire life. So I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I didn't mind, having to run poles or run sprints and spend an extra hour in the training room sitting in an ice bath. That was part of it. That was part of the life that I wanted. It just sucks it didn't get to where I wanted it to go, but, and it's just funny. And hearing kids talk about the grind, and I'm like, you guys don't know what that is. Like the grind to you playing in a weekend tournament. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You play 2 games on Saturday, and then you can play 4 or 5 on Sunday. Yeah, that's tough. But you're not doing it every day. You're not riding on a
Right.
bus for 12 hours and then having to sleep on a hotel floor and then get up and go perform in front of a guy that wants to take your job away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the grind.
Yeah.
That's the grind. This is what you guys are doing. This is just fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm trying to explain to my high school kids and stuff. I'm like, it's easy right now. So let the game be easy. Because you don't have someone, you're not sitting there on the mound or in the box with a guy on a clipboard evaluating everything that you're doing, and you might get a red tag in your locker and being like, dude, pack your shit up, you're done.
Yeah.
You don't have that right now. And you're not going to have that for, even if you go to junior college or D2, D1, whatever it might be, you're not going to have that for a while.
No.
So just go play.
Mm-hmm.
Go play. You're not going to get cut.
It's like when I saw earlier this year, there was the complaint over the Oakland A's food at the minor league for the minor league team. The sandwich and the salad looked like crap that was provided by the team. And there was an outcry and uproar on social media. Like, how could they feed these guys this way? This is horrible. They're treating the players so bad. I'm sitting here going, dude, the teams didn't even feed us back then. We paid our clubby dues, and like, you were lucky to have some broke ass fruit, the big Aldi's peanut butter, a couple different jelly selections, and those jellies were already mixed in the damn peanut butter because guys would just stick the crap back in there.
Well, it was the Latin guys. I mean, hold on. Let's get that right. It was the Latin guys who put the jelly in the peanut butter.
It was. I wasn't trying to call them out, but they were the worst at that. But I mean, that's what we got. And like, if the clubby didn't have shit for us, or we were playing somewhere else and their clubbies didn't give two shits about the opposing team, you didn't have anything. There was nothing provided. You lived off your $12 or $15 a day meal money for 3 meals.
Absolutely. Ooh. Man, and almost every place I went, I got to know the people that worked, in the front office.
Mm-hmm.
So I was that guy that was like the first one there, last one to leave.
Yeah.
And every now and then, probably every other game, they'd come down with like 3 or 4 hot dogs. I'm just like, hell yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's living it up back then.
Absolutely.
That is living it up. It's like,
I'm like, and they're like, yeah, these ones are fresh. We just cooked them. I'm like, perfect. I'll take them.
Yeah. That was like sitting in the stands and, getting to do the charts. There were guys who hated when fans wanted to come and talk to you and sit behind you and ask you 5,000 questions. I was the guy who answered 5,000 questions because they'd bring me some popcorn, they'd bring me a hamburger, they'd bring me a drink, and I wasn't paying for it. And that was like living large in the minor league days.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't afraid to talk to people, especially in the bullpen. People come up and, even if they tried to talk crap, it's like, whatever.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything about it. There's things that could have been better, but like you're talking about, live in the moment. These guys need to have fun, do what's going on, not worry because their salad that they're getting is soggy or their sandwich doesn't have enough meat on it. Be thankful for what you're getting. Be thankful that the guys for the last 30 years didn't make shit, and you're finally getting more of a sustainable wage. You have nutritionists making foods for you.
Dude, well, and think about it. They just cut a level of minor leagues.
Yeah.
That's
just under 60 teams.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what Jeff just asked now. He asked what our thoughts are on the minor league baseball and whether that is better for the players or better for the organizations, the restructuring.
Probably both. You're going to see probably a better game at the low A levels and the A ball, because you're getting the cream of the crop. I mean,
Yeah.
Back when we were playing, it was still like the 2%, of college guys or even high school guys. I mean, it's still 2% of all the baseball players in the nation got to do what we did. But now that the draft was cut this last year to 10 rounds, this year it's expanded to 20, and you're cutting out, what's 30 times 30 in quick math? I'm not good with that shit.
Yeah. Enough.
900 guys, 90 guys,
yeah.
but not 90. It's gonna be 900, right?
900,
So those are 900 guys that are in independent league, or they're working regular jobs now that had a job with an organization. So in theory, you're trimming the fat. I mean, there's some guys that I'm sure you played with, that I played with, that were just kind of pickups for roster fillers, and they're have a 7 ERA and short season, and you're just like, okay, yeah, thanks for playing.
Yeah.
See ya.
And for you, there were guys that, like you, that came in that excelled, that they didn't expect to and didn't know what to do. I played with a guy like that. His name was Derek Langford. The Pirates drafted him in like the 42nd round. Didn't expect anything of him. We had a couple high draft picks that played first base and third base that were on our team. One of them was a first rounder. Then we have Derek, who came out of a small D1 school, didn't really tear it up, but was solid. I mean, just solid. Great dude, great guy. He gets to pro ball. His first 3 years, the dude hit 340 or better and hit 28 home runs a year. And they didn't know what to do with him. Because they had these other guys they had so much money invested in.
Yep. And
they
you're
just started letting this guy sit on the bench until he was uninterested in continuing his career.
Yep.
Because like you, he was married. He's like, I'm 4 years in. I've hit over 340 every year. I've put up 28 home runs, 100 RBIs every season, and I'm an A-ball. I'm in high A-ball. Why? Guys that haven't hit 200 for a season are getting moved up beyond me.
Draft status, man.
It's a business. They gotta get their return on their investment, whether it's a trade, whether it's just moving somebody up to assume that value in case they can trade them. It's crazy, because you know as well as I do, there were some amazing players out there that didn't get a fair shake like they should have. You're one of them. You've got former big leaguers talking to you in independent ball going, why are you here? Think about that.
I know.
It's one of the best compliments you can get as a player.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I wish I could write, or I knew a writer or something, but I don't know what that would do to me personally, like in a baseball sense. But to write a book, and I would call it draft status. Because especially when we were, now it's going to be totally different, because
it is
everybody that's going to be in the minor leagues got drafted basically. I mean, there's because it's so there's not that many levels,
right.
They're going to have plenty in the draft to pick from. The free agent, the undrafted free agents they're going to go away.
Yeah.
But
here comes the other wild card. Tim Evans just brought this up, and I saw social media ablaze today on Instagram once this happened, with the Supreme Court case coming through, and college athletes are now allowed to have endorsements and endorsement deals from companies. Do you think we'll start seeing some people go that college route for the experience and hold out more, or not? All I'm going to throw out there is I saw on social media there was 2 twin sisters that I want to say are out from UC Irvine. One goes to Irvine and one goes to Fresno State. They're both I think one was a gymnast and one was a volleyball player.
Yeah, I saw that.
But they got a deal with one of the supplement companies today, and they had them out for a photo shoot in Times Square in New York. Already. They, as soon as that got cleared, they signed them late last night, had them on a plane today, had them in Times Square, taking photo product shoots and fashion style shoots with the products already. I mean, it's coming. You're gonna see guys in commercials now in the big cities. You know, the LSU football players doing car commercials and getting that car lease for a year that, you know, we knew a lot of them were getting anyway. But now it's on the up and up. You know,
Well,
you're gonna start seeing money flying.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's so interesting, and it's funny because I was talking to my daughter about it because she has a girl at her high school who's graduated this year and going to Georgia to play volleyball next year.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "Well, she can sign she can sign things and get paid for it now." And I'm like, "Yeah, she can."
Yeah.
But the people it's going to benefit the most is football and basketball, men's.
Yes.
Because that's where the money's at. A lot of people don't know the baseball players around those schools unless you're at the bigger schools, you know?
Right.
And so they're not going to be endorsed as heavily as, you know, the starting quarterback for Alabama or the running back for Alabama or the starting quarterback for Florida, like, you know, or, you know, the point guard for Kansas. Those guys are going to be marketed beyond recognition, you know? Those girls striking while the iron's hot, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm gonna. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't see it sustaining as well as the pro guys getting the endorsements. I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like, oh, this is the cool new thing, and it's going to blow up, and then it's going to kind of just fade away. Because those guys are only there most of, and looking at football and basketball, some of the basketball guys are only there for 1 year. You know, so obviously those guys
they're even starting to skip that now, though. You got basketball guys going and taking the G League contracts for $150K, skipping out on a year of college just to be drafted.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, and I can't blame them for that.
No, not at all.
Go to college when you know you're going to stay for 1 year.
Yep.
You're never going to go back. You have no intentions of going back, and have to go to class and all the things that go with it. Or you can go somewhere and train as many hours a day as you want with professional coaches, be seen by professional coaches, be in the limelight every day, even though it's smaller cities, and you're making $150K. That's a no-brainer to me.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
but I mean,
the difference on that level, that basketball player can do that and make $150K. That minor league baseball player, that we all have that misconception, if you're not a minor league baseball player and you think they're making money, like we said, unless you're a bonus baby, even though they raised money up, you know, you're still talking about guys in low A making, I want to say it was like $1,400 a month instead of $800 or $850. $1,400 is not a lot, especially when you realize that season is 5.5 months.
Especially
you do not get paid for spring training.
Yep, especially in this day and age now.
Yeah, 1 month you don't get paid in spring training. If you go to extended season or instructional league after the season's over, you do not get paid. You just get room and board. So that's another month of your life not getting paid.
And meal vouchers.
Not able to work. Yeah, meal vouchers. Woo! Now the shit's all catered, so it has to be catered. That's part of the collective bargaining agreement. So meal vouchers are even out the door. You know, so you got to eat what's there. But still, the spreads look pretty decent from what I've seen. Way better than
it's I mean, per sport, you know, this whole situation is different because you don't see football players going from high school to the NFL. They got to go. I mean, college is the minor leagues for football. So those guys are going to at least go to college, and for their 3 years, they're going to get their $60,000 a year tuition paid for. They're going to get full room and board. They're going to get meal money and catered food at the facilities and any supplement they want and need. And then they'll get a stipend of $5,000 a month, or, you know, anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a month. And then on top of it, have the possibility to go do a promo shoot at the local car dealership or whatever company, or the hotel that's there, or whatever. Football, I think, will have a bigger impact with this. You maybe volleyball, and I think it's going to depend on the region too. Gymnastics is huge with Georgia, and even in Utah, University of Utah, that's huge. The women's gymnastics in Florida, I mean, those girls can go probably get a ton of endorsements because they're like superstars down there. So I think it's going to be kind of by area. It's going to kind of depend on the sport.
So in a way, once again, the bigger schools are going to win out, because in my take of all this, we've started to see guys spread out and go to some smaller schools where they could be the go-to person or be the big name, over going to the legacy program.
Right.
But now with the opportunities that will be there at the legacy program to get endorsements and have that chance at that bigger payday sooner, I think that's another recruiting tool for some of those schools over the smaller schools, the
Absolutely.
Max, independents and things like that.
So, and because I'm a huge Kansas basketball fan, so I think of this endorsement stuff and I think, okay, if you look at Kansas and you look at Kentucky, they're known for their basketball.
Right.
If you're a top recruit in the country with this endorsement deal now, if those are kind of, I mean, Lawrence not so much, but Lexington's a little bit bigger. But if you're the main guy coming into those programs as a freshman, you're going to get any endorsement that you probably want. And you're only going to be there for 1 year. So you're going to make money that year while getting your 1 year of education. And then you're going to go sign in the NBA. So in a theory, is it kind of like the G League? Yeah, it can be in that aspect. But I don't think it's going to affect baseball. It might here and there, just depending on the school. But for the most part, like it's really not. I don't think the baseball players are going to get the same treatment as football and basketball.
No, there would only be a few places that would happen. That would be some of your large SEC schools like an LSU, Mississippi State. These schools that are throwing down $80 to $100 million stadiums because they sell out, at 30,000 people a game, even on weekday games. Minor league games, you don't do that. You see the Oakland A's. This will give you an example. Mississippi State averages 28,000 fans a game. Averages. And it's completely packed. Now think about the Oakland A's today. Opened up the stadium to full capacity for the first time since COVID. The paid attendance today was 4,376. You have
that's sad.
A college team who plays in a better stadium, has better facilities, has better everything all around than a Major League Baseball team, and draws 5 times the fans.
And the A's have been in first place.
Yeah. For the last 4 years, they've been in first place.
I know.
And they don't do anything. I mean, they're trying to move. I give it to them. They're trying to move. They're trying to get in a better situation. They're finally doing something with that. But if the city of Oakland doesn't realize this, we have probably have the top 100 programs in college baseball outdrawing a Major League Baseball team. We have minor league teams outdrawing a Major League Baseball team. I know in Erie we had more than 4,000 people a night at a game. And that's New York Penn League Baseball. It's AA there now. But still, we sold out almost. It was a sellout, I want to say, every game, and they had been on a streak for 3 or 4 years. It's insane. It's insane to think that we have low A teams out selling a major league team. Colleges out doing it. It's blows my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then you go and because growing up in Southern California, you go to those, to a UCLA game, a Long Beach State, USC, maybe 200-300 people at most.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like the Pac-12 is good.
I remember going to West Coast to play. There was nobody there.
Yeah. as good as the Pac-12 baseball is, there's no fans. There's none.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you're in a bigger city where there's a lot more things to do.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? So, but
Mm-hmm.
like at Nevada, I mean, depending on who we had coming in, we'd sell out. And during the 97, 98, and 99 years, we continued to set records for sellouts. And we played Fullerton, I believe it was it my redshirt year in 95? Yeah. And they had, that was the year Fullerton won it. They had Kotze and then
Yeah.
Ted Silva, he was a senior my
He was a
sophomore year
wicked
in
ass
high school.
pitcher, dude.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was a senior my sophomore year in high school, so I was his second baseman.
Okay.
But they were solid. And in my 5 years with my redshirt year, my 5 years at Nevada, we beat Fullerton one time, and it was the game that we beat Kotze when he came in to close, and we beat him. But I remember him hitting a ball that maybe got 10 feet off the ground from bat to fence, and it was an absolute missile. And I was just like, oh my gosh. But that was the largest capacity that we had at Nevada, was anytime Fullerton rode in,
Yeah. Well, I know the Reno Aces team seems to draw a heck of a crowd out there.
It's a one trick pony.
Yeah.
There's really not any competition for anything else to do other than the casinos and stuff like that. So people who like sports, they'll go to the Wolfpack stuff or they'll go to the Aces.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And that stadium is nice. We went to it when it was first built and stuff. It was a nice stadium.
Yeah. Well, you talk about the quality of the players you had at your university that came through there. And you're talking about a bunch of guys that were either high draft picks or played professionally or played in the big leagues.
Yep.
You guys were cranking out big time players. The Reno, it's AAA, man. They're cranking out players or have players that have been there that people know. That's what people want to see. You know?
Right.
I mean, that's good entertainment. And yes, absolutely. I call baseball entertainment. All sports are entertainment. When you're in the stands, you have to remember it is entertainment. For us, it is our jobs.
Correct.
For you, it is entertainment. Don't ever let that get confused. Too many people confuse it, man.
Absolutely.
It's still sports entertainment.
And the minor league players get fined if they signed anything during games. Keep that in mind.
Yes.
So
when guys used to like pouring beer on me because you're a grown man and I would not throw you a baseball in the bullpen. So you would dump your $1 beer on me.
Here, give me $50 to cover the cost of my fine for your $5 baseball there.
Yeah, no shit. No shit.
Yeah, so funny. I just had a thought. So Cleburne down here has an independent team, and it's with like Fargo and Lincoln, was St. Paul until they became a AAA team. So we went to one of the games when they first opened, and I was kind of like, all right, yeah, we'll go and stuff. And that's where my in-laws live, is in Cleburne. So they're like, yeah, let's go. They're all excited and stuff. Well, we're sitting behind the plate, and a couple of dudes are like, oh man, these guys must make a ton of money playing professional baseball and stuff. And my wife looks at me and she goes, do you want to say something or you want me to? And my father-in-law looks over and he's shaking his head because I mean he was, my in-laws were with me through the whole ride,
Mm-hmm.
I started dating my wife my senior year of college, so they were along for the ride through all professions, and we lived with them in the off season.
Yeah.
I had to stay up there.
God bless your wife for sticking out the minor league life.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's crazy. So when
she's the true champion of that.
Absolutely. And when I retired and she's like, I'm not going back to St. Paul your last year, and right before I retired and stuff, I was like, that's fine. You need to start your career and do what you got to do. And I was like, it's your time. So you go do what you got to do. So it was her turn. She sacrificed three years for me, and it was like, you know what, you go take care of your business and go do what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to flip the script on you again.
Yeah.
This has all been good, but you also spent time later after your baseball career is over and you switched over to scouting.
I did. So it was it was just a couple years as an associate, just in Northern Nevada. So it was kind of here and there. It wasn't too big. I'd mainly just kind of, it was with the Diamondbacks, and the guy that I reported to, he'd tell me who to go look for. And obviously I'd give him feedback and stuff like that. But that's opened the doors to, I'm a recruiting advisor now with a company called Sports Force. So that's where that scouting aspect of how to kind of see players. I mean, and most of us, if we played, we've scouted at some point.
Yes.
You got to see it. What can a hitter hit? What can he do? What can he not do? What can this pitcher do? So it's just learning how to see it as an evaluation side more than how am I going to defeat him. So that, I guess that's kind of the difference in scouting to play against them versus scouting. Is this guy a first rounder, or is he a draft and follow, or should we pass on him? With a recruiting advisor, that's a whole different story. It's different. I'm dealing with young kids. Some of them haven't even matured yet, or they're just starting to. So you don't know what you're going to get. You're like, yeah, he's got the tools, he's got the brain, but he's 5'2" and 135 pounds and can't hit the ball out of the infield right now.
Right.
So I don't know what to tell you. So let's wait a couple years and let's see if he grows. And then before you know it, boom, he shoots up, and all of a sudden he's hitting rockets. And it's like, yeah, there we go. Or it doesn't happen. But yeah, so it's a different mindset, a different view that you have to have in the recruiting advisor's scouting situation. One of my clients is my shortstop at the high school, and he's going to be a junior this year, and I want to say he's 6'2", 165.
Oof.
So he is wiry.
He's got the frame.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's working out a bunch, and I'm like, dude, you got to eat like 3,000, 4,000 calories a day right now, just so you don't lose weight, but he's got a good IQ. He's, upper 80s across the diamond as a shortstop, is 60 times under 7. He gets down the first baseline under 4. Like, he hit third for us most of the year as a sophomore. His batting average wasn't there, but he barreled almost everything up when he hit it. And he can pitch a little bit, and he can play outfield. So, I mean, he's got things that are going to present well. But the recruiting climate right now is just so weird. There's 3,700 kids in the transfer portal right now. And then you have all the third-year JUCO sophomores that are coming out looking for four-year schools to go play in. And then you also have some of the 2-year sophomores that are coming out, looking to go to a 4-year. So that's, roughly, we'll say 6,000 kids that are looking for a home. So the class of this year's senior class, some of the kids there's some kids that aren't highly recruited that are going to fall through the cracks, and are going to have to go the JUCO route, just because it's so flooded right now with all these transfers. And there's transfers that, maybe got books and most of their tuition paid for at the school that they were at, and they thought the grass was greener on the other side, and the only offer they're getting from another school is books.
Yeah.
And so it's a weird situation right now. And especially with the draft being delayed, to July 11th, with it being 20 rounds, there's a bunch of college coaches going.
That puts a big twist in things too for colleges, because now they don't know if guys are going or coming, and how to offer stuff. And I mean,
absolutely,
this draft changes stuff. The coaching carousel changes stuff a lot. I mean, and you're starting to see it in the last 2 days. just LSU alone, once they got the new coach with Jay Johnson coming from Arizona, that guy's been on campus one day, has already met with some of the players, and you have the starting second baseman who was a sophomore, their starter, who jumps in the transfer portal on July 1st. He's their starter. He's heading out because new coach has somebody better he's going to bring in.
That's crazy. You know? How about staying there and competing for your spot?
Yeah.
Or being like, hey, you know what? That's cool. Bring in another second baseman. Guess what? I can play left field.
Yeah.
Or
you know, he probably got told he was going to have a competition at his position because this guy's willing to play a shortstop at second base.
Yeah.
You know, and wait for him to move to shortstop because they've done that at Arizona. Where at LSU, you play short, you wait in line.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
But this is a guy who's hungry, who wants to prove why they just paid him $1 million a year to coach.
Absolutely.
You know? He's been to the College World Series several times the last couple of years. He's got a lot to prove, and he's going to put the best damn players on the field, whether they're in position or out of comfortable position, to have the best bats and the best athletes on the field at any given time. And that's the scary part of this transfer portal, because now guys don't stay. They're like, oh, I might lose my job, or I'm not being called the opening day starter and guaranteed the job from the get-go for next year. And they're jumping ship.
Entitlement.
Like, what have you done to earn it? You hit 250. You hit 250 in the SEC. Good for you. Stay and fight for a job, you know?
Yeah, get better. But, you know, and I tell my guys all the time, you know, if they're saying anything like that, I'm like, iron sharpens iron. Like, go fight for it. If you want it, whether it's against another team or against a guy that's trying to play shortstop over you, figure it out. Because if he's pushing you, then you get better, and then he gets better. Well, guess what? We got a pretty damn good team. I mean, that's just that's crazy.
The problem with what you said, though, the problem with what you said in today's game isn't always the kids at that point. We see a lot of mom and dads too.
Oh, you're better than that. You can go. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And that's where travel balls got to be crazy. Travel ball used to be for the elite players, and everybody else played Legion ball and everything else and work their way and hope to one day be on one of those teams that travel.
Or Eric.
Now everybody plays on a travel ball team, and if you don't get to play the spot you want or get the amount of innings,
you go to another place.
You go to another place, or mom and dad starts a team just for you and tries to build around you and leave you at shortstop when you're a left fielder, you know, or you're pitching and you should be playing first base.
Absolutely. You know, and I've talked to my kids all the time, and I'm like, I grew up a catcher. I love catching. I love being a catcher. That's what I was going to be, but I could pitch.
Yeah.
And then my freshman year in high school, I happened to start a game on the mound, and my varsity coach was there, and he told my freshman coaches, don't ever put gear on him again. He's not going to catch for me. And as a sophomore, I started at second and beat out a senior. And I never played second in my life, but I played short. And then my senior year, I played center field because, well, I knew how to play the game.
Yeah.
So would you rather?
I played all over the place as a left-handed player. I mean, I got brought into several different major league tryout camps, you know, that you went through back in the day through the high school years, you know, the little combines and stuff that were invite only. I got invited to pitch and to play first base or work out in the outfield. I got invited for both. I loved hitting. I would play any position you would put me at to do that. And I excelled at it. Yeah, I got to college, got out there the first day, threw 95 to 97 left-handed and got told, you're just a pitcher now.
Yep.
And it sucked. I hated it. I wanted to hit.
I know. And I was always that kid growing up where if I went home clean, I wasn't happy because I felt like I didn't play hard. And now all of a
Yeah.
sudden you go to college and like you're just a pitcher and you're just like, dude, I gotta like go slide off the field so I can get dirty or something. Like it didn't feel
Mhm.
right, you know?
Yeah. I
But
wanted to be involved all day with everything possible,
yep,
not
absolutely.
play once every fifth day.
Mm-mm. Nope.
You know, that's why being shifted to the bullpen and doing setup and closing made it more exciting for me
Absolutely.
because there was that opportunity to play every day. And that excited me way more than starting, you know? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
starting was fun in high school, you know, because I got to pitch a game or two a week, but I played in every other game, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
it was that yin and yang, it worked together. Get
Yeah.
to college and all of a sudden you're just a pitcher. And I was like,
That sucks.
come on. Like, can I do something else?
Right?
You know, I get to shag fly
Oh
balls.
no, but yeah. So they ended up having to put me on fungos because I would go play second when the second baseman would go hit.
Yeah, yeah. I hit fungos too, man. I got excited when I got to do
They're
that.
like, no, no,
You
no.
know.
Hey, we need you to hit fungos because I'm out there robbing home runs and diving for balls in the
Mhm.
outfield. I'm like, dude, I can play defense. Like I can play. Like
Oh
give me
yeah.
a chance.
I got in trouble in pro ball because I went after my first season. I went out and got myself a brand new Gold Glove left-handed catcher's mitt because I
Perfect.
was bound and determined to do something in the bullpen
Absolutely.
besides sit there.
Yeah.
And funny story, my rookie baseball card for minor leagues, I'm pitching using my left-handed catcher's mitt because,
That's
of course,
outstanding.
that day they showed up. I was out in the outfield catching for the other guy I flipped back and forth with closing and setting up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my picture is with me using a left-handed catcher's mitt.
That's
So
awesome.
that will always go down with me forever, and it cracks me up. But dude, I love nothing more than being involved somehow. So yeah, dude, I was catching bullpens left and right. I was catching for our starting pitchers out there,
Yep.
except for days when we had a coordinator in town. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, like if the I'd go down there on the days off and just be like, hey, you know, uh, whether it's the starting catcher, the one that caught the most, if it's his day off, I'm like, dude, give me your shin guards, I'll go catch the bullpens. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And the coaches knew. I mean, I talked to them. They knew I could handle it, so I'd just go down there in my
Mm-hmm.
gear, or in his gear and stuff, and I'd just go. I didn't care. I loved it.
Yeah. I
I
did the
loved
same
it.
thing, man. It was just fun to be involved all the time and doing something, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It was no fun
It
sitting out
was,
there for 7 innings going, am I gonna play tonight?
yeah.
Play
It
tonight?
it,
Come on,
it
do
was.
something.
It's a game. It's a game that we got paid to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Man. Hey Scott, this has been a lot of fun. We're hitting the 2 hour mark. I don't want to keep you too late. I know you got a lot of things going on, probably family stuff coming up with this holiday weekend. I appreciate you coming on, sharing your stories,
Absolutely.
talking baseball, talking coaching, talking life. This has been absolutely enjoyable, and I can't thank you enough for coming on, man.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
for
Thanks.
sure,
Thanks for
keep
inviting me,
on
dude.
posting the art, dude. I love seeing it. Keep posting it.
I will. I'm thinking of creating a separate page just for the art and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
do it. Do
yeah.
it, man. I'll be on there. I'll be on there checking out what's going on. I
Cool.
have multiple pages. You know, it's what keeps us young. Trust me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I want to thank everybody that came out tonight, watched the show, all of you that have stuck around from the start to beginning. We appreciate you coming out every week, hitting us up here. I'm also doing shows with distilleries over on Instagram at the same name. It's just all together at Big League Bourbon. Those are Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock Central Time. Next week, I got Starward Distillery coming on to talk about what's going on with Australian whiskey with me. The following week, I have Driftless Glen coming on to talk with me. Next week on this channel, I have JD Klosser coming on. He is the roving catching coordinator for the Atlanta Braves former Colorado Rocky catcher as well. Also used to be in the Yankee system as a catching coach, I believe. But he'll be on with us. And I have a few more guests lined up coming that way. If you don't know, logo up in the top corner at Storytime Distillery. Take and follow us over on Instagram and on Facebook. Sign up for our newsletter so you know when we have those drops coming out. We got our first pick that we're going on in this month. We're actually in the month now. So on the 24th, we'll be making that pick up at Driftless Glen in Baraboo, Wisconsin. And for any and all of your screen printing needs or illustration work, that's what I do. Check out Ameriprint Plus on Facebook and on Instagram. We kick out some artisan quality hand screened shirts, banners, stickers, you name it, we do it. I do illustration work and have done work for professional baseball teams, Division I schools, Fortune 500 companies, you name it, been there, done that. Come check us out. Once again, everybody, thank you for coming on the show. Scott, thank you so much for hanging out. It's been awesome, man. I'll get you back on here again. I want to get a big group of guys on here to have a little powwow, run a list of questions of what's going on in the game today and just kind of have a panel and get everybody's thoughts on it. So I'd definitely love to have you back on that if you're down for that.
Yep.
Everybody else, thanks for coming out. It's been great. Take care. Have a safe and fun time on this 4th of July holiday, celebrating America, our independence. Cheers. Have a good weekend, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.